Welcome to One with Him, where I am one with the Creator and one with myself. I'm coming on today, and I'm sorry I missed coming on with you last week. I received a phone call earlier in that week. My dad was having a medical issue, and so one of my sisters and myself, we went down to Georgia to check on him and just, make sure we got the full story of what was really going on with him. He is 82 years old, and most high willing, he will see 83 in June. And his wife, she's also up in age, and so trying to get the full picture of what's going on, get an understanding of what's going on from them can be a challenge, and understandably. So, like I said, one of my sisters and I, we went down to Georgia to check on him, and thankfully we were able to speak with the doctor directly to see exactly what's going on with him, how they're looking to treat him, and, everything that's involved in what's going on at the moment. So, I missed coming on with you last week, but, it was necessary for me to, take that time off to get some clarity and get some information and just get some peace about everything. I wasn't worried going down there, but when your parents are older, you get concerned when you hear uh, information about their health or possible things that might be going on. And so it was necessary. It was needed. I'm glad that I went. I'm glad that my sister and I got to go down there. It was obvious he was happy to see us and happy for us to be there. And I think it just did his heart good to know that even though we are, far apart, when he needs us, we will be there. So with all that said, continue to pray for my father. If you would, I would appreciate that. He is doing well. He's having some physical therapy to help remedy what's going on. But again, he's 82, so we are just thankful that he's still here, that we still have him. He is still in his right mind. He, somebody came into the room and, asked if we were his daughters, and he quickly told that person how old we were, who we were, where we live, and all that kind of stuff. He's quick. He still has it. So I'm grateful, for where he is in his life right now. And even though he does have this minor challenge, he is able to overcome it, if he is diligent to do what is prescribed. So anyway, continue to pray for him if you would. I would greatly appreciate that. Now, what I want to share today, I am so overwhelmed with what I am learning. And I hope you are too. I hope that, as we're following Sister Pam and she gives details and she gives references, whatever is piquing your interest with what she gives, grab onto that, because that may be a piece of the puzzle that you will help bring clarity to and get clarity for yourself in. So by all means, search those things out. Don't just wait for her video and then that's the end of your day. Continue your search, continue your journey, continue seeking. I said I put the Bible itself down because I'm really trying to get more answers. Not that I don't believe it anymore. It's just that I've read it and 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 read it. And now I want to see what is either confirming it or debunking what's in there. And oh my gosh, this journey it's just been something else. So last time I was on, I was telling you that I was reading this book by Zachariah Sitchin called The 12th Planet. He's the one that wrote the book. What was it? The book that we read about Inky. It's not in front of me right now, so I can't remember the name of it offhand. So anyway, I told you I got his series of book, The Earth Chronicles, and I'm into this book, the first book, The 12th Planet. OMG. Okay. He is digging. I mean, like I said, the book of Inky that we read was more like the storyline, or the tablets that tell the story. That's almost like another biblical account of creation and how we came to be. But this one, it really digs a little deeper. It talks about, I'm on I've finished chapter 5. There's like, how many pages in this book? there's just, let's see. Oh, okay, so there's the index. Okay, so the actual reading ends on page 422. So I'm on 172. So I got a little ways to go. But I'm telling you, oh my gosh, I want to get back to the truth. I said I was starting from scratch, and I want to get back to the beginning. So, getting introduced to that Inky book was really what I needed. I did order the OASP, so I have that. It came the other day. I did get the other two small books that she talked about. The one about wisdom, and what was the other one? Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. The wisdom one by Manly Hall. Okay, here it is. What the Ancient Wisdom Expects of Its Disciples by Manly Hall. I got that one. And then she also talked about the book, The Pineal Gland, The Eye of God. I got that. So I will be delving into those. Oh my gosh. I was telling Pam, I'm going to need a book budget. My book budget is blown. It's just, if I feel I need to have it, I'm going to get it. That's just the way it is. And so I was reading. I'm sorry if I'm going all over the place. Like I said, I missed you last week, so I'm trying to get you caught up with what's going on in my brain and in my spirit. Oh my gosh. I was trying to explain to my husband the other night, with the meditation and everything and all that I'm reading and learning and getting revelation on. I will be sitting at my desk at work, and all of a sudden I will feel like I'm going to have an out of body experience right there at my desk, because I am starting to get so in tune. I'm not talking that spooky spiritual stuff that we learned in the church, but I'm talking about really get in tune where I'm my opening mantra now is I'm one with the creator and one with myself. I really feel like I am finally becoming one with the creator and one with myself, because as I'm reading what I'm reading, and as I'm seeking, and as I'm pondering, and as I'm meditating, and as I'm reflecting, it is almost like a rebirth. I am not kidding you. It just feels like, you talked about being born again in the church. That has nothing. That doesn't even scratch the surface of what I am truly experiencing right now as I go through all what I'm going through, and as I'm allowing myself to be okay with the search. I think you need to hear that too. It is okay to search. It is okay to question. It is okay to try to get as much clarity as you possibly can while we're in this realm. Because ultimately, you are responsible for your own, what they say, soul salvation. You are responsible for that, just like I'm responsible for mine. And we can't blame the pastor that taught us. We can't blame the evangelist, the pastor, the teacher. We can't blame any of those people for our ignorance anymore. We are to blame for our own ignorance. We are to blame for our own fear. We are to blame. You are to blame for yours. I am to blame for mine, because we sat there and allowed them to tell us what we had to do and what we could do and what we couldn't do. We sat there and trying to be the best obedient student, the best obedient parent, the best obedient son or daughter to show how much we love. Here's the truth. Your true love for the Creator is your obedience to Him. Period. And we keep running to, again, I'm not trying to diss the Bible, but I'm just what I am saying is what we have been reading and what has been interpreted to us, for the most part, are two separate things. And we have been running on interpretations, and we have been stuck, and we have been like the children going around the mountain one more time, one more time, one more time, one more time, because we depended so much on somebody else telling us what we can do, telling us how we're supposed to do it, how we're supposed to worship, what we can wear, what we can't wear, what we can put on. You can wear some lip gloss, but you can't put on a lipstick. You can't put on eyeshadow. You can't wear open-toe shoes. Your skirt has to be mid calf or lower. Your shirt sleeve has to be to your elbows, and your the shirt has to be up to your neck. All all this crazy crap that we have. You got to have a hat on your head if you choose to say something public. All this mess that we have adopted that the Father never told us to do. I'm sorry. He never did. Never told us to do all that stuff. That is what man has created. That is what man has done to keep control, keep the focus on him or her instead of us keeping our focus on the Most High. And I'm done with that. I've been done with that, and I am loving this current journey that I am on, and I hope that you are as well. So, with that, in the description box, I'm posting a link because as I was reading uh, the 12th planet, as I started reading this on YouTube, I typed in that magnifying, the little magnifying glass where you want to search something. I typed in Anunnaki, and several videos came up. And one video in particular that caught my eye was a video. The name of the channel is The Fifth Kind, the fifth with the number 5th, the fifth kind. And the man that was talking on there, I thought he was British, but he's actually Australian. And I started listening to some of his videos, and what drew me to continue listening was his story. He himself was a pastor. I don't know if he still is, but he was a pastor in the Anglican Church in Australia, and he started to question some of the what he calls anomalies in the creation story, and that got me right there. So he's written a couple of books. I got the books, and he has a new one coming out. It's out right now in Kindle, but I'm waiting for the paperback that'll be out on May 1st. So I got to get that pre-ordered. But his name is Paul Wallis, Wallis, Paul Wallis. The first book is called Escaping from Eden. The subtitle is, Does Genesis Teach That the Human Race was Created by God or Engineered by ETs, Extraterrestrials? That's book one. The second book is The Scars of Eden. Subtitle, Has Humanity Confused the Idea of God with Memories of ET Contact? And then the third one that's going to come out, I think, is called Echoes of Eden. Again, that one is out right now on Kindle. I don't want the Kindle. I want to be able to touch it and read it myself. So that one will come out May 1st. I'm going to pre-order that so that I can have that. I'm currently, I think I'm starting what chapter am I starting in this one? I've started chapter 9. I started chapter 9 last night. I was really tired, so I didn't get very far into that. They're not very good books. Not very good books. They're not very big books. My apologies. Whew. They're not very big books, but they are power packed. And reading this first one, Escaping from Eden, alongside with the 12th planet, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. They are like feeding off of each other. It's like Sitchin started it. Paul Wallis has picked it up and he's carrying the torch. It is just amazing. Again, I want to recommend, especially if you're one of those who really want to give back, start from scratch, and you want to get more, the tablets of Inky that we read, and I'm sorry, that's not the correct name, but you know what I'm talking about. That was a good start. But this one just takes you back to the beginning. It gives you more detail. It calls out some of the words that we've been using. And Paul does that too. It calls out some of the words that we've been using and we've been attributing to the Most High, the Father of all, whatever. If you're still calling him Yah, I'm not hating on you. It breaks down. It helps us understand who they were really talking about. Let me just say it that way. And I think what I want to do, and I said, I'm trying not to commit to reading, but I think we need to hear it. So I'm not going to do the 12th planet. But I think I'm going to read the Escaping from Eden one. because I love it. I'm loving what I'm reading so far. Now, just because we start reading these books and he even says himself, um, just because they say it doesn't mean we have to take everything they say as gospel. But the evidence that is showing does help to put the puzzle pieces together, get the full picture, helps us get a fuller picture. Like I said, I don't think we're going to have all the answers, but I think as we continue to see, we are going to get really, really, really close. And that's what I'm striving to do while I am on this side of the dirt. I'm just looking to go as far as I possibly can, to get as close as I possibly can, still trusting and believing in the Most High, that He's leading and guiding, and that He's not going to leave us abandoned. He's not going to leave us ignorant, especially if we are truly seeking Him. And when He gives us pieces, when He gives us nuggets, when He gives us understanding, when He answers our prayers, it's up to us to run after it. It's up to us to grab on and latch on to it. It is up to us to say thank you and apply it. Because it does no good for us to pray He gives us the answer and we're going to reject it. He's faithful. But what are we going to do with what He gives us? If out of body is what is rocking your boat right now, and that's where you really want to focus, then focus, go all in. But when He gives you the experience, don't run away from it. Run into it head first. So I do want to, I think I will. Hold on one second. Let me put my coffee down. Okay. Escaping from Eden. Does Genesis teach that the human race was created by God or engineered by ETs? Here's what some people had to say about this book. Escaping from Eden takes us on a journey that we will never forget. The incredible possibilities of our own existence. Thought-provoking. This is from George Noory, host of the national radio show Coast to Coast AM. Another person, who's Sean Stone, a filmmaker and media host, said, Paul is doing a courageous service to give us a new perspective on the creation and engineering of man. All right, here we go. Escaping from Eden. And you know how books do like a preface and an introduction? He just jumps right in. I love it. He says, I dedicate this book with love to my beautiful family, Ruth, Evie, Ben, and Caleb, and to all seekers of truth and consciousness. Acknowledgements. This book would not be in your hands without the help and encouragement of an army of people. My thanks especially to my family for their great patience in supporting the writing of this book, and to my literary colleagues, Michael Mann, Andrew James Wells, Christina Kellingley, Dominic C. James, Brian Mountford, Mary Flatt, Stuart Davies, Becky Conway, Nick Welch, Maria Berry, and John Hunt. Also to George Noory, Regina Meredith, Sean Stone, and Eric Von Daniken, whose work and encouragement helped midwife this book into being. Thank you. All right, introduction in Chapter 1. He's jumping right in. Injuries and anomalies. Okay, here we go. Another flash. Nick Hallett of the BBC. Can you comment on Pope Francis's response to your book and were you surprised? I willed my glasses not to fog up in the face of flashing cameras and rapid-fire questions. I did not want to see my face in some newspaper column the next morning looking like a startled rabbit. Thank you, Nick. Well, I know that since Pope Benedict and now with Pope Francis, the Vatican has been widening its theological doors on this topic, so I really welcome that. I think that's a real encouragement for all people to explore the kind of topics my book touches on. But I have to say, at this point, I haven't yet had the opportunity to really reflect on the papal statement. It was only released half an hour ago, just as I was on my way to you. Flash. Michelle Block, NPR. Mr. Wallace, you're making huge claims about Bible translation, archaeology, DNA research.
According to my research, you don't have qualifications in any of these fields, so why would a reader need to take the claims of your book seriously? Thank you, Michelle. That's a great question. I guess a core part of what people look for from their pastors and preachers is for us to try and make sense of the scriptures that we preach from. A big part of that is carrying people's questions, wrestling with them, and doing that openly. I've been doing that for more than 30 years, and that's really what I'm doing in this book. Now, there are plenty of times when I have to stand on others' shoulders. That's why in my book, I go to some world-class academics and researchers, people who have given their lives to their fields. So a lot of my questions have taken me to those people. You can think of my book as a kind of documentary, sharing the preacher's journey with the reader. My hope is that this little book will be a way into some of these amazing areas of study, especially for people of faith. Another flash. Just as I was looking down at my notes, Ted Avery, Fox News. Paul, you say it's for people of faith, but in what way can you call yourself a Christian when in fact your book pulls the rug out from under 2,000 years of biblical interpretation? There's that word. The two theologians you hold up were both condemned as heretics. Doesn't that mean your position is built on heresy? Can you name a single Christian leader today who is willing to raise their hand and support any one of your book's ridiculous conclusions other than Pope Francis? I have to say, this line of questioning was not a complete surprise to me. Faith and new ideas do not always make easy company. I thought of my friend Vince. He was a senior theologian for many years for a heterodox Christian sect. He found himself out on his ear when his careful study of the Bible led him to conclude that their particular sect had not got all its biblical translation right. Better translation meant that their sect could not claim to have exclusive access to the kingdom of God. When Vince sounded out his senior colleagues, they all told him the same thing. We know. We realized that years ago. Just don't mention what you're thinking about. Just don't mention what you're thinking to headquarters. Without that brick in the wall, they feel the whole house will come falling down. Don't do it, Vince, or they'll kick you out. You'll be shunned. We couldn't do it. All our friends and family are in this movement. It's our life. And that's been the case for so many of us. We've been sitting in this church, sitting in this denomination, sitting in this group for years. And now that we start to question, if we are told either that they know or they try to explain it away with some other reasoning instead of hearing, and they know, hearing what you're hearing, seeing what you're seeing, and acknowledging that what you're saying is right. Let me keep going because I'll run off on a tangent with that one. Whew. Mainstream denominations, I think it was right the first way I said it. Mainstream denominations aren't so different either. 100 years ago, a Baptist minister, having served more than a decade as a professor of Semitic languages, suddenly found himself disendorsed and out of a job. That was for publishing papers that only went half as far as my new book. And I don't say that in any way to be judgy about church and faith communities, because at the end of the day, we are all creatures of habit. It's not easy to change our minds. Not one of us is ever really prepared to wake up in a universe that's different to the one we fell asleep in. I knew that my book would ruffle feathers and maybe even lose me a friend or two. My editor had run theological gauntlets like this himself before, so I was pleased to have him at my side as the questions continued. Flash. Hugh Grant from Horse and Hound magazine. It was all too imaginable given the topic of my new book. Perhaps I should have written another gentle devotional book like my previous offerings on Celtic spirituality and Eastern Orthodox mysticism. They were nice books, and they didn't cost me any friends. On the other hand, I just couldn't not publish this book, even if it meant running a gauntlet like the one I had just imagined. I had to publish it because, firstly, that's what addictive writers do. They share the journey.
And secondly, because I've learned, just as Neo does in The Matrix, that once you've taken the red pill, there's no going back. Injuries and anomalies. I had seen these anomalies before. I knew that something was off, and I could see how these glitches might just throw spanners into the works of everything I was trained in. But never before had my whole working future ridden on what they meant. Somehow, my pace of work always kept me just that bit too busy to give the glitches much attention. This time around, it was different. The upside of my ultimate frisbee match with the youth group was that I was on the winning team, and we won by a country mile. The downside was having to spend the next I don't know how many weeks with my lower right leg bolted into a portable traction device. Just a few weeks before, my wife Ruth and I had invested in a shipping crate cabin to adorn our driveway. The idea was to provide some tiny house accommodation for our guests and Airbnb it for a bit of extra cash. Right now, I was appreciating it for myself as a place of quiet and seclusion to help me recover and get healed up. Before the ultimate frisbee incident, I had been preaching through the book of Genesis, one of my favorite books. Now that the universe had gifted me with a period of quiet, I could study it afresh without the background pressure of having only 6 days to create the next sermon, with sense made of every detail and every loose end tied. Churches generally like their pastors to make sense of the scriptures they preach, and my congregation at the church on the range in Victoria, Australia, was no exception. As much as anywhere, the good people of this beautiful part of the world appreciate being challenged and stretched to a degree, but as in most churches, there is a familiar canon of stories which our people expect to hear reaffirmed on a regular basis. There is comfort in the familiar rhythms of the old story. It's a story which speaks of an almighty God who creates light, space, energy, matter, stars, and planets. Out of nothing, he forms land and sea, vegetation and animals, and ultimately people like you and me. And the plot rolls on from there, except for the anomalies. Those little red flags, all signaling that something is awry. With my time moving more slowly, I became aware that every verse that didn't fit, every word that didn't make sense, was somehow harder to brush off. Each time I sat down to read through the book of Genesis, the same anomalous verses kept getting in my face and flagging me down as if to say, "Paul, stop. Don't read any further. You've got the story wrong." According to the history of scientific discovery, anomalies are supposed to be our friends. They're the little clues that our meta-narrative is off. They beckon us back to the data to take another look. When you're overscheduled and don't have the time for them, you tend to see anomalies in your data as annoyances and want to quickly dismiss them or explain them away. It's the same with the Bible. Take a good long look, and the many anomalous verses of Scripture begin to reveal themselves as something altogether more enigmatic. Give them enough attention, and you'll realize they are the portals to another world. If you have ever read the first 11 chapters of the book of Genesis in the Bible, the stories of beginnings, then you probably have an idea of what the anomalies are that were derailing the preparations for my next sermon series. In this chapter, I'm going to invite you to read over my shoulder the random notes I made as these portals in the scriptures began to open up. But I'll warn you, we'll be diving into the deep end. The anomalies appear early on. In fact, our familiar story gets messed up within the first verse of the Bible. Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created. When I read this verse in English, there's no problem. With my interlinear Bible open, the Hebrew text on one side and the Greek of the Septuagint on the other, I can't escape a rather big question. Why is this word Elohim, which is translated as God, shaped like a plural noun? How come it's a plural if there's only one God? Genesis 1:26. Let us make. Wait a minute. Who is this us? This is the dawn of time, before any intelligent creature has been named. So who or what are the others that God is talking to? Genesis 1:26. Let us make human beings to look like us in the image and likeness of ourselves. And he's reading this from the NIV, just so you're aware. The footnotes in my New Jerusalem Bible say, image is a concrete term implying a physical resemblance, like that between Adam and his son. So these Elohim are plural, creative and physical? What's that about? Genesis 2:10 through 14. A river watering the garden flowed from Eden. From there it was separated into 4 headwaters. The name of the first is the Pishon. It winds through the entire land of Havilah, where there is gold. The gold of that land is good. Aromatic resin and onyx are also there. The name of the second river is the Gihon. It winds through the entire land of Cush. The name of the third river is the Tigris. It runs along the east side of Ashur. And the fourth river is the Euphrates. If, somewhere in Eden, the humans have been provided with a garden to meet all their needs, why is the Bible telling me the geographical location of key mineral deposits? Havilah for gold, resin, and onyx, and the gold is high grade. Who needs those? How is that relevant? Genesis 2:17. But you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat from it, you will certainly die. How is the knowledge of good and evil a bad thing for humans to have? If God wanted humans to be capable of free choice and love, then surely this kind of moral awareness is absolutely essential. If the humans are incapable of distinguishing good from bad, then how can they choose the good or be held culpable if they choose the bad? Surely, if the man and woman have no moral awareness, then God has set them up to fail. They can only fail. And if they fail, how can he hold them responsible? That doesn't make sense. On top of that, how can death be a just punishment from a loving God? If it doesn't fit the crime, something's wrong with that picture. Genesis 2:21. So the man gave names to all the livestock, the birds in the sky, and all the wild animals. But for Adam, no suitable helper was found. So the Lord God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep, and while he was sleeping, he took one of the man's ribs and then closed up the place with flesh. Isn't that a little short-sighted? If the Almighty is the source of all wisdom, how can a female of the species be an afterthought? How can woman be given as the man's helper only after a line of pets have proven inadequate? Genesis 3:1. Now the snake. Okay, who is this? Clearly he's not a snake when he turns up. He is intelligent. He has arms and legs and can speak human. He's a significant player, but he arrives on the scene without any kind of introduction or explanation. So what is he? He is not the Almighty, and he is not human. Has any other kind of being been named so far? Did I miss something? Did I skip the verse that explains this other kind of being? I wouldn't be the first person to miss the glaringly obvious. Come to think about it, almost every time Jesus quotes the Hebrew scriptures, he says, "Friends, look again. I think you may have missed something." The fact is, I had missed something, yet I was soon to find it, hidden in plain sight, in the very first verses of the book of Genesis. And I'm going to stop right there. So you see, this stuff is fascinating. At least it is for me, and I hope it is for you. So next time I come, I'm going to pick up. I ended almost at the end of page 7, because that's where the next thought is going to start. But chew on that for the week. The next time I come back, I'll start with page 7, and I will try to finish this chapter, which ends on page 18. So with that, thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. Have a great day. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your week ahead. Do what you need to do. Enjoy your journey. And with that, peace and blessings to you all.